Hey guys, another episode of the Trading Vault, and today we've got Jevon. And Jevon, I just want you to quickly introduce yourself to the viewers and to the listeners before we get going.
Hey everyone, so I'm Jevon Pharo. Some know me as Jevon Shaw. I grew up in Ellerville North, and after I finished school, I relocated to Port Elizabeth. My first job in PE, I basically worked for a company called Stock Market College. They educate people on how to trade the stock market. And basically, my first week there, I was introduced to, I don't know if any of you guys remember FPS, the broker. They had a bonus a very long time ago, $123 for 7 days. And I got signals from a guy in my first week and I made $200. Back then it was about $100 was what 1,200 rand. So I withdrew $200 and then I got about 2.4 within a week. And I realized that, if I can make money from my phone, I want to keep on doing this for the rest of my life. So basically from there on, I kept on studying the market because my main thing was also I want the freedom. I don't want to slave my life away, if that makes sense.
And are you currently in Port Elizabeth, or where are you currently based?
I'm currently in Port Elizabeth, but I've been traveling a lot in the past year. I've been in Ellerville North, my hometown. I've been helping a lot of people there, helping people start their own businesses. I also went to Pretoria. I went there for like a journey of self-discovery, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I went to Lanesburg as well. I met a lot of interesting people there as well, people in high places in Cape Town. So yeah, but for the past 2 months, I've been between Cape Town and Port Elizabeth a lot.
Okay, sweet. For the guys that don't know, I'm also in Port Elizabeth. So even though Gareth Cliff said it's the armpit of South Africa, I tend to disagree. But anyway, on another point, so Jevon, you before trading, you were working and basically transitioned over into trading full time.
Yes. What happened was I was a call center agent, so my job was to basically connect the company with wealthy clients, and then basically try and get them to start investing their money into the stock market and so forth. But a lot of things happened. I don't want to go too deep into that because it's a story for another day. But a lot of things happened with the company. The name changed, other owners came, and a lot of sketchy things started happening. So there's also I'm sure we're gonna touch on this as well. People being scammed in the industry. So then I started realizing, I started seeing how people are being scammed, but then I realized as well, like, because after I withdrew my money, I had that mentality of, oh, I made money from my phone, I don't need any more help. So then the person who helped me, I then neglected them. So then they stopped giving me signals. So what happened then? I keep on blowing my account. So yeah, so from there on, basically I told myself I want to learn how to do this and do it properly.
And was there anybody that, obviously you mentioned signals, was there any specific trader that you looked up to starting this journey, or somebody that you admired?
There's a lot. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot. Mostly it started off with I think it was Jason. He's the first trader I saw with success. Because back then he had the Gold 7, and I was like, who is this guy? And I think Jason is a year younger than I am, and I was like, how can I let this guy make more money than I do? And then there was Coach as well, the guy who has 1 minute strategy. It was him, making money, and I've actually signed up for his course back in the day as well, and I've also made like 1,000 rand in a minute before. So a lot of things is possible on the market. There's a lot of people who I've looked up to, but at this current point in my life, I'm looking up to more of the goats of forex, of trading, of investing, if that makes sense. The Warren Buffetts, the Bill Gates, the Elon Musks. I'm looking at people with high net worths and seeing how they actually go about things, because they don't necessarily trade every single day. Understand what I'm trying to say? Because they have so much money. But yes, those are people I look up to right now at the moment. People with high net worth.
So what would you say you're building towards? Would you like to one day own property? Do you want to own stocks that pay dividends so that you can basically live off the dividends? Or what is your ultimate goal? Because obviously trading is a money spinner. It's something that can generate money, but what you do with that is the actual wealth creation. And I think we tend to miss it at the end of the day, that trading is not something you're going to be able to do for the rest of your life. Even though you can, you need to get to a stage where you are either investing in businesses, or either investing in property, or either buying stocks that pay dividends, because ultimately you want to get to a stage where there's cash flow being generated without you having to sit in front of the charts. So what is your outlook on, I don't want to say your goal, but what is your outlook in terms of actual wealth creation? I'm not talking about money, talking about actual wealth where you can generate cash flow without having to lift a finger.
Well, like you said now, I think one of the easiest ways, if you have a lot of money, is property. Because if you own a lot of property and you just rent it out, it's a lot of money which can actually come in. Actually, here is a very good example for those of you who might want to look into property. This is an idea I've had, but I don't have the funds for it. But I can't just sit here with this idea as well and I'll share it. For example, if you can come up with an idea, maybe to build a complex where there's, let's say, 50 houses in the complex. You then roll out this business plan to your investors and so forth. You then sell 25 of the houses, then that will give you capital to actually start building, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Then you actually have 25 permanent residents in the complex, which means you don't need security, and so forth and so forth. Then you have 25 other houses which you can just rent out for the rest of your life. And I mean, if you have a complex in a suburb, for example, you're gonna, I mean, 25 times, let's say 7K per month. Obviously there will be some fees involved, but that's still a lot of money. And if you can do that over in a lot of areas, for example, like compounding property, that's an easy way to make money. But going back to what you asked me, what my ultimate goal was. See, when I first started trading, or when I first came to PE, I wanted to do IT, but there wasn't money for me to go study. So then I had to do what I had to do in order for me to make money. So I had to go look out, and I then had to go look for a job. And by coincidence, I stumbled upon trading, So then I had many other goals. But I realized whatever, and I always say this to people who have other goals but don't want to go into trading. I always tell them, but you can't just expect something to be handed to you on a silver platter. If you want to go into photography, folks, into photography, and you need a very good camera, I mean, trading is a way you can fund your businesses, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because you have to understand, you're not going to have a fixed income through trading. But my ultimate goal in the end, then, with trading is basically, I want to start a bank. I want to start a bank where actually we will be actually giving back to the people. Because I mean, think about it this way: if on the stock market, especially in South Africa, people don't realize that the way we've been taught, the way that we approach the market, the way we manage our risk, we can make 50% on our account a day, for example. Whereas when it comes to US citizens and so forth, like, they make that in a year, for example. But then again as well, I always tell people not to look at numbers, but look at percentages. Because if you look at all the big hedge funds worldwide, they never bring in like 100% of the clients every year. They bring in 20%, 40%, But like, we are in a position whereas, we can make more than that. Now, my thing is, if we can start a bank, if the banks give our people 8% a year, and I mean, if money is just an idea, a concept, an illusion, if we can start a bank and we give people, for example, let's say 4% interest per month on your money, we can do so many things. But I don't want to go too deep into that, because it's obviously my big secret.
Yeah.
The time comes. But the thing is, now I need capital for that. That's why I'm trading. I need 250 million rand to get my banking license and to get everything in order. So, yeah, that is my end goal.
Yeah, one thing people don't tend to realize about money, and this is maybe for somebody out there, is that you need to look at money as an actual being. And why I say you need to look at it like an actual being is because money wants to multiply, and money will not go where it's wasted or where it's not protected. So think about it this way. If money comes to you and you protect it and you use it wisely, more money will come to you, because money looks after its own. It wants to expand, it wants to multiply, it wants to grow. But if you constantly taking money that's coming to you, you wasting it, you basically spending it without wisdom or doing stupid things with money, money will not flow to you. So think of money as an organism that looks after its own. And if you get that mindset of protecting it and protecting the wealth, that is when money will start flowing towards you. But I see too many people, and this especially with trading, coming in mindlessly into the markets, funding an account with, say, a small amount, already in their head thinking they're going to blow that account. And that is exactly what they do. But if you come with the mindset of, even if I start to grow small increments on this account, maybe it takes you 2 years, and I've mentioned this, nobody wants to go through that process of building, because anything in life, trading, your career, there is a definite phase where it sucks, where you're building brick by brick, layer by layer. But once you've got that foundation set and you've built the platform, and from there it goes very quickly. But nobody wants to go through the grind of that. Say, some people, it may take 10 years, 15 years, like you've mentioned, Warren Buffett. If you actually go and look at a graph of his net worth actually flatlined for almost, I think it was 15, 20 years before we actually became exponentially wealthy. Because Warren Buffett, in his documentary as well, mentioned how he built things slowly, and over time, that is where the wealth is being created. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, we've got this sense of instant gratification. Everything has to happen over 3 months, 6 months, but nobody wants to sit in the time to actually go through that. On that, something that I've seen where traders fail is jumping strategies. Was that ever something you struggled with as well? Jumping between one strategy to another strategy when you started out?
Before we touch on the strategy, you mentioned something, two very interesting things now about money. You said money is an organism. I always try and make sense of things in life. I always try and find, like, if I can specifically explain why this happened, it would make sense why this has happened. I don't like to wonder. So, for example, how you say about money. If you think about it, money grows on trees. Money is a natural thing, and you must also understand that as biological creatures, we have magnetism. But as a magnet, a magnet attracts, but there's also a side of the magnet that pushes away, and a lot of people live on that side of the magnet where it basically propels money away from them. And then one more thing I want to touch on is heredity and physical heredity and mindset. A lot of people think heredity is inheriting things such as money, cars, houses, and so forth. But physical heredity is actually, you inherit the ways of your ancestors, the ways of your forefathers, basis. You inherit their ways of thinking, their mindsets, their habits, and so forth and so forth. This is why, if you're born into poverty, most likely you're gonna die in poverty, because like something has to click. You're gonna have to reprogram your mind and different, and literally change your relationship with money in order for money to change the relationship with you. That is very, very important. Okay, so then the strategy thing you mentioned.
Yes.
It goes back to what you also said now with the Warren Buffett thing, with the how his thing flatlined. If you jump from strategy to strategy, obviously you're gonna have ups and you're gonna have downs, but you're not gonna have that consistency. You won't be able to actually build a foundation for that strategy in order to actually understand how the market moves. I tell this to a lot of people. Whatever pair you trade, that pair is very unique. That pair moves in a specific way. This is why it's impossible for you to trade a watch list of 50 pairs. You're gonna eventually blow your account. If you have a watch list of 6 to 8 pairs, for example, and you look at a specific method to enter the market, a simple thing is something I have on my YouTube channel called the weekly structure. You strictly trade in the 4-hour chart, for example. there you already have time, leverage, and freedom. You can come back every 4 hours. You know that you can be patient. There's no need to rush into the trade. And always you have to wait for price to come to you. And the thing is, if you jump straight to strategy, you won't learn all these small things, and the small things matter the most. So whatever strategy you're using, I always also say this, with the correct risk management. If you even if you are 100% inaccurate on a signal or a trade, it's impossible to blow your account with the right risk management. Now the thing is, if your risk to reward is say 1 to 5, every single time per trade you can have 5 losses, and one trade you can make it all back. And if you and if you keep that up, for example, let's say using that theory in mind, with the risk reward of 1 to 5, if every 2 trades are profitable, you can be profitable every single month.
I agree.
Just through being disciplined.
Just back to the money thing, Grant Cardone actually said something years ago on his Instagram, and he said, you don't have to make money. And he's actually talking about physical money. He said, all you need to do is collect it. And there's so much money in circulation all over the world and in economies. It's just your job to collect it. So he always mentions somebody else has got his money. He just has to collect it from them. And that is where basically a skill set or something that you do, or there's a solution to a problem, that is how you make money. Exactly what you mentioned about the mindset of a family or a generational thing is that we tend to always look at the problems, and that is fine. But once you identify a problem is actually an opportunity. So if there are problems arising, I was thinking about it the other day, for instance, we've got load shedding. So load shedding actually created an entire market for generators, for inverters. For us, that's in Port Elizabeth now with the drought, all of a sudden you couldn't get water tanks. Plumbers were all booked out. So all of these problems we always have creates opportunity for people to make money. And the same with business, with any business, it's always about a solution to a problem. And if you can identify something that is a problem and you can provide a solution, you sell that solution. For instance, with the water thing, I think it was about 2 months ago where we were actually without water for, I think it was around about 2 weeks. And we actually had to buy water. Guys bring water to your house and they pump your tanks full. And while the one guy was pumping our tanks, I looked down the street and there was like 3-4 other tankers. And you even had guys that only had a bucky. He rented a massive trailer, put I think it was 2,500 liter tanks on with a little pump. And there was a problem. This guy provided a solution. He didn't have a massive truck that basically holds 20,000 liters. He literally had a bucky trailer, had 4 tanks on the back of the trailer and on his bucky. And I thought that is taking advantage of a problem and providing a solution. So always think of problems as opportunities, and especially in the market as well, with guys that are teaching strategies and teaching guys how to trade. If there's a fundamental problem with how retail traders trade and you can provide a solution with the actual proof case study to say, look, here's somebody that doesn't know what he was doing. Yeah, I've showed him what I do. Here are the steps. This is him making money on the market. Then you'll make money, because you've also mentioned it. There's a lot of guys out there that's teaching regurgitated stuff that's for free on the internet. They basically pile a lot of information onto traders, but traders or new traders can't connect all the dots. And if you can do something for traders, and even you, Jevon, if you can provide something that is perfectly steps-based, where it's a thing of if boxes 1 to 5 are ticked, then you execute. But to leave that subjectivity to a new trader creates a lot of problems. So that's just something I can basically tip you on, and some of the other mentors out there that's entering the market to educate.
What I've realized is it's easier for me to teach someone who has never traded before compared to someone who has taken many courses, sport, robot sport, EA sport, so many things, because it's basically their mind has all this other BS in it, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
So now you have to first, like, kind of like
unlearn
with every
and
belief.
relearn.
So with every belief that person has about the market now, you have to break that belief. And the thing is, there are so many beliefs now based on so many strategies and so forth. You have to break all those beliefs, shatter their reality about trading, and then first show them, okay, this is how you do it. Compared to, like you said, a new trader, like if you have perfect steps for them, they become it's easy for them to become successful, because like it's not like they've yeah, like I said, it's not like they've been through the whole process.
What was the most difficult part for you in this training journey?
Interesting question. I would say not knowing myself, to be honest, not knowing myself. Because if you don't know yourself, you don't understand how greed works, your greed levels work. If you don't understand yourself, like I had this thing called the seven sins of trading. It's basically the seven sins in the Bible as well, which is like it's greed, it's lust, it's being a sloth, gluttony, all the seven. But my point is, like, being greedy means you don't take your profit, or you hold on to losses. But I've realized there's also a thing called lust in the market, and that is not closing profit. And the reason why I say not knowing myself is because, like, if you strictly trade for the money because you rush yourself with a timeline you have seen on social media, there's no purpose behind why you are doing it. So what I struggled the most was what was greed. So I had to basically, like I said, I had to look at my family and see what greed has done to them. And then I saw, okay, this is why I shouldn't be greedy, because you might get what you want in the short term, but in the long term it could be detrimental for yourself. So then I had to basically I had to ask myself, what is my why? What hurts me? And which was basically my family. I didn't, and the world around me, I didn't want to see people suffer and so forth. So then what I did was I told myself, okay, how do I so then I actually went and I figured out what's the minimum wage in South Africa, which is more or less 3,000 per month. So then I converted it to dollars, and I realized, okay, that's about $200 per month. If I take $200 per month, divided by 4 weeks, that's $50 a week. 5 trading days a week, that's $10 a day. So I told myself, if I can make $10 a day, then I can make a salary, for example. And same as a job, for example, if you're gonna work 3 years, 4 years, and then get promoted, if you trade your account a certain way and only basically but now the thing is, you will always go over your target if you have a big account, because if you're targeting $10, you might hit $12 today, $11 tomorrow, $10. Those one, two, three, those small those extra few cents, they add up over the long term as well. So then you could then so quote unquote, as a promotion for yourself, your account will basically get bigger, but you'll get used to this feeling of withdrawing the small amounts of money and actually paying yourself. And then that's what I started doing. I started withdrawing $10, $20 a day, getting paid every day. And life became easier. And life became easier, And the thing is,
that is yeah, I just want to add to that's very good advice. I've always also said, and guys, that is actually most probably the best advice on this podcast is break it down, like Jevon mentioned. If you, let's say for instance, you working a full-time job and you require X amount of money. Let's say you need 10,000 Rand a month. Take 10,000 Rand, divide it by 20, there's 20 trading days, and break the goal down. And then start off small. Because the majority of guys are not full-time traders, they're still working a part-time job. So then break it down to say, okay, look, I've got, say, 10,000 Rand to trade with, I can risk, it's a smaller account, I can risk, say, 3% per trade. And I just want to pay, for instance, let's say electricity bill. Let's say electricity bill is 500 or 800 Rand a month. And you just want to cover that expense with your trading. And then you start off small ticking boxes like that. So 1 month, that's how I started. I started the first time
I
started.
can also add something there.
Yes.
I'm also want to add something there. A lot of people's gonna watch this podcast and they struggle with trading, and their families know that they trade, but their families don't believe in trading because of their actions and the way they behave on the market doesn't bring profit home. For example, for them to change their perception. So if you really want your family to support you, for example, because obviously if you keep on funding your account and you blow your account, your family doesn't know how trading works, and they think you're getting scammed. I know what I'm talking about. When you start making those small withdrawals, and you, like you said, if you can buy electricity here and there, if you can buy bread and milk here and there, whatever the case, I promise you as well, your relationship with your family will change because they will start seeing that you're taking on certain responsibilities, and responsibility will also breed success. Because if you also just take your profit and you go out every weekend and go drink and whatever the case, I have no problem if you do that. But I'm just saying that is not a sustainable way to build a future for yourself. Especially us as young people, we have the stigma that we should impress people. You should start at home. Everything should start at home.
I agree. Yeah. So with that being said, is break it down to small targets, because ultimately if you just see one big target, your mindset is like, flip, I need to make 10,000 Rand in one day. But if you break it down to incremental steps where a daily target looks much more reasonable, you're not going to be so greedy like you mentioned. Let's say, for instance, your trade goes into $25 profit. You're going to close it out. Your daily target has been met. Market is not going anywhere. You can come back tomorrow. And also on that, that's one of the biggest killers is and this is what I want to tell guys, have a set take profit level, because there's always going to be times where it runs way past your take profit level and you're thinking in your head, if I just held the trade, this and that, and you're actually feeling worse off with a winner than you would have with a loser. But there's also going to be times where you take the profit at a set level and the market completely reverses from that level, and you would have either been stopped out at break even or you would have taken a loss. But if you've got a set take profit level of, say, X amount, or you're trading a small zone or zone to zone, and you can consistently knock that out without having that thing in your mind, if I just held the trade or if I just kept it a little bit longer, because ultimately that comes in with the gluttony. You're never going to be satisfied with the profits you made. You're always going to want more. And that's where that discipline comes in. And the thing of being content with, I actually made money today, so I'm in the 5% of traders globally that manage to take a piece off the market. Because every time you take a piece off the market and you exit it profitably, you are in a select few people in the world that manage to do that. So give yourself a pat on the back, come back the next day, and just knock out those small little goals you set for yourself along the way.
If I can give advice on that is, don't look at the numbers, because if you search for happiness is numbers, your search for happiness will never end. This is why I trade with fixed stop losses as well. I use 10 to 25 pip stop losses, and my take profits are always 50, 100, or to 200 pips, depending on the cycle, depending on the market. So I know, for example, that every trade doesn't matter where price is trading at. If I enter there, for example, I measure it and I know, okay, there's more or less 10 pips, so I'll add something for the spread, for the a little bit of throwdown, whatever the case, and I have 20 pip stop loss. Now, if you manage your risk like that, then you know, for example, as well, okay, so if you trade
your
with
lot
this lot
sizes
size,
are going to be fixed as well. Yes.
yeah. So your lot size will automatically show you that 10 pips equals this amount. So if you place 20 pip stop losses, you know exactly this is what I'm risking on every single trade. It's total money. And the other thing is also, guys, when you guys take your trading accounts and look at your history, go to your 3-month history, look at your last month history, look at your last 3 weeks, your last week, and today. When you fund your account and you double it, withdraw your initial deposit, because then you are trading on the market's money. And then there's no reason for you to be greedy, because it's not your money anyway. But now you can make free money. So another thing is also how I realized I'm becoming profitable. I started looking at my 3-month history, right? So, for example, let's say today I would have a small loss. Let's say this last week I would have a loss. Last 3 weeks I have a loss. Last month I have a loss. But my last 3 months would maybe show me I've been profitable. That gives you some hope. Now you keep on being disciplined. Now you look at your history again. Maybe let's say after a month, you look at your history again. Today was a loss. Last week was a loss. Last month was a last week was a loss. But then you see last month. The last month you've been profitable. Maybe break even, but just above your initial deposit. So, but you also look at your last 3 months, but then you'll see some more profit. So you'll start realizing becoming profitable by looking at your long-term history and not so that will then obviously show you don't focus on the short. Don't only just focus on the short-term results in the sense of like flipping the account. Like the initial thing you should like your target for the day. That should be your initial goal. But yeah.
Guys, we basically running out of time. I'm gonna ask Jevon to give some last remarks, some motivation for the traders out there. Jevon, what can you tell the guys to motivate them, or something that's pulled you through, or something that you do daily, or read, or look up to, or just some motivation for the guys to keep going and to go out and smash it?
Okay, so I would say first things first is find your purpose. The beautiful thing about purpose is no one tell you what your purpose is. You decide what your purpose is. The moment you decide what your purpose is, then look at other people who have done similar things you have done. Study those people who have been successful in that line. For example, I studied Napoleon Hill. He was mentored by Andrew Carnegie. Napoleon Hill worked with Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale worked with Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor passed away now recently, but I am currently friends with a guy who worked with Bob Proctor. So do you see the correlation of things happening here in my life?
Is that book Think and Grow Rich, or what's the?
Think and Grow Rich, yes.
Yes,
there's
awesome
also
book.
There's an audio on YouTube. You guys can actually go look for. It's called Earl Nightingale. Think and Grow Rich. You guys can download it. You guys can also message me on Instagram. You can just send me your number. I will forward it to you on Telegram. I don't charge people for the mindset and things like that because it is free. Study the science of your mind. Study the science of getting rich. So I listen to this. This it's 43 minutes. I listen to it every morning, every night. And it just is like they say in the audio. It's an insurance policy against failure. Because you constantly,
I think I also listened to it. It's that the one where he mentions and he says, rather be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than have an opportunity and not be prepared for it. Is it that one?
That is
the guy with the old.
Okay,
yeah, that's very good.
Yes. So I start. So like I said, my main thing is like I said in earlier on, I want to understand how things work. Now the thing is, I believe in a lot of those who know me. I believe in a lot of weird things, So I also believe in the law of attraction. I believe what you think you attract. So when you fund your account, right? Also when you trade, for example, there's a voice in your head. My stepfather always says the devil likes scream. So I always see that the devil always screams in your ear to do the wrong things, But the soft voice always listen to it. For example, let's say sometimes whenever you're trading and something tells you take your profit, but you don't listen to that voice. Why don't you listen to that voice, for example? Because you don't know yourself, So I meditate. I still my mind. I try and understand the voice in my head because the thing is, we don't necessarily control our thoughts. Half the time you think you're thinking, you're listening. So the thing is, where's your thoughts coming from? and the thing is, we vibrate on a certain vibration. Now, the other thing is also, if you're in a certain vibration, if you're in a low vibration, that means you are in a bad emotion. If you're in a high vibration, that means you're in a good emotion, be it happiness, love, or whatever the case. Okay, so what I'll say is, follow me on Instagram at Jevon Pharo. Look for me on YouTube, Jevon Pharo. There's a lot of things I talk about. I post a lot of things about mindset, etc., and so forth. Just go to my profile on Instagram as well. You guys will find a lot of things which will help with either your mindset, be it with discipline, whatever the case. And yeah, I wish we had more time, man.
Guys, we're gonna post Jevon's social media handles in the description as well. So give him a follow. Check out what he's doing. You talk a lot about the mindset. That's something you need to look into. And I really appreciate it, Jevon. We'll have another one very soon. And all of the best for the week and for the rest of the year. And yeah, hope you have a great one.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for letting me on.
Thanks, guys.